Hi, this is Lady Lex UK, and this is Asset Breakdowns, where we look at medium molecule assets and ascertain how they work and maybe how you can fiddle about with them and amend them for your own games. Here is the controllable ball character. This is the one we're going to be looking at today. So I'm going to select that and put it in my world. This is a marble platforming device. So you can see here I can move the ball around with my left stick. You can go in any direction, and with the right stick I can control the camera. This is used for platforming. As you can see, the ball rolls up the slope, and you can also jump up onto platforms, etc. So you can make yourself a marble platformer with this. Now you'll notice, even if I scope in, we can't see any of the chips. That's because we need to turn on X-ray. It's sort of hidden inside. And also there is another chip which you can only see if you preview invisibility. You can see that there it's really bright because it's got a special effect attached to it. So I'm just going to turn it off for now, and we'll have a look at that a little later. So straight in to the ball logic. Now we might find that as the ball turns, this ball logic, this is going to be like upside down and all sorts of things. So I could pin it, pin to screen like this, but then I can't really zoom in, and so I'm gonna just have it free floating for now, so I can zoom in so you can see the text a little bit clearer. Right, first of all, you'll notice we have a lot of sliders. These are for the creator to amend the attributes of this ball without needing to go into the logic and understanding any of it. You can just move these sliders along. So we've got a choice of changing the speed of the ball, the movement strength of the ball, whether the imp is visible or not, and the jump height of the ball. This one would be if you wanted the imp to grab things in the scene while the ball was moving around. There's another two gadgets. There's the auto guide, which nearly all medium molecule props have. This is basically just to stay upright and choosing the scale of the ball. And also a gravity chip. This is to adjust the gravity. It has a gravity strength of 200 to start with. That's not on a slider. You could put it on a slider if you wanted to have a full choice of the gravity, but be aware though that anything less than 100% gravity may mean the ball will fly up into the air and off into the sky. So probably leave the gravity as it is. Right. As you can see, these are wired into some nodes that are attached to this logic chip. So let's go and have a look and see where they are affecting this ball. Okay. First thing to notice, there is a controller sensor in here. This is a possessable controller sensor, so you have to possess the ball. There is force possession highlighted, so when you start the game, let me just start the game, you are already inside the ball. Let's just do that again. There we go. So you don't see the imp, it's inside the ball. Let's turn the imp on with that with the slider, so imp visible. Now we control the ball, and we also have an imp, so we can grab things with the imp as well as move the ball like a companion. Okay, so we'll turn the imp off because we don't want it. Right, let's look at the top one, which is the speed. So that goes into this node. A node, as you know, is just a placeholder, a little clip, if you like. It doesn't do anything. This gadget doesn't have any attributes to it. It just acts as a clip to create like a little tag for the outside of this. So that goes into a calculator as the A option. So this is the speed that you've chosen with your slider, and here is another number. Now if we go to back, this is going to the left stick. Now the left stick is producing either a 0 or a 1 or numbers in between. And just to show you that, as you move the stick, it's going to create a number. Let me just wire that into there, and we'll do that. So if we go in now, you see as I move my left stick, it's producing, it doesn't matter whether I'm pulling it down or up or left or right, it's producing a number which its maximum is a 1. So it's going to be a number between 0 and 1. So the idea of this is that this is the speed, and it will be times the amount of pressure on the left stick. So it's either going to be its top speed or a variation down to 0 where there's no pressure at all. Okay, so let's have a look. We're going to have the issue with this turning around. There's not an awful lot I can do. Not a lot I can do about it. It's going to turn upside down and all sorts of things. So let's turn it around. Okay. So that's what that calculator is doing. It's calculating the speed based on how much you're pushing that left stick, plus this slider and what you've chosen. This is then sent into a splitter. What this is doing is taking this information in, and it's splitting it between the left and right and the up and down. So as you move your left stick, you can move it up and down, or you can move it left and right. And that's the X and the Y. And then this is the speed that is going into our movement chip. This is an advanced mover, and as you can see, the X is going up into this wire and into the X speed, which is this one here. Now, things that people get confused about is that with a 3D advanced mover like this, 3D, you've got an X, a Y, and a Z or Z. And the mistake that people make at the start is because this says X and Y, they think the Y needs to be wired to the Y and the X to the X, which would make sense, except we're in 3D space. And this, the left stick, is moving your ball in basically 2D space. It doesn't have an up and down on that ball. It's just east, west, north and south, not up and down and all around. So Y speed, the Y speed is for the up and down, the vertical on your 3D space. So instead of wiring your Y to the Y, you wire it to the Z, the Z. And this is the speed for the north and south. So this is east and west, and this is north and south. So a lot of people make that mistake. It's very easy to sort out. Okay, so we can see there's another wire. This one is the movement strength. This is as you're pushing with the controllers, how strongly it will move, and the movement strength is suddenly set to 40%, and that goes wired straight in from this slider here. So we've got those two sliders sorted, and there's no dampening on any of the axes, and that there's nothing else going into that. So that's the movement with the speeds. The speed of the movement goes in there. And if you select it, you'll see that there is an axis, and you'll see that Y is straight up, X is in this direction, and Z is in that direction. So like I said, X is east and west, and Z is north and south. Okay, so we have another chip here. This is the rotational movement, and the speed is not just going into the linear movement, it's also going to the rotational movement. So we'll open that one up. It's this one is controlling the rotation speed, and so we got the x-axis is coming from the y, the up and down, and the z-axis is coming from the x, the left and right. And this is where it all gets very complicated. So if you're building this yourself, it's really easy to get this completely wired up wrongly. So it's quite a good idea to have a look at this one to see how this works. So it's the exact opposite of the linear movement, the rotational movement. So the y goes to the x and the x goes to the z. Again, we're not using the up and down y-axis because this is not a flying object. And then we have rotation strength set to 60%. We don't have a slider for that one. That one's fixed, but you can always move this around if you want. But I would recommend leaving all of these alone, so that it definitely works. Okay, so that's the movement sorted. Then we have from our controller sensor, we've got a cross button coming out. Let's just look at this wire going into it. We've got allow imp during possession. That was what this is turning on and off. So that goes directly into that controller sensor. Then we've got health and death effects. We'll look at that in a minute. But let's look at the cross button. This is going into a signal manipulator, and this is creating a pulse. So when you press the X button, it doesn't matter if you hold it down or if you press it just the once, it's going to send a pulse regardless. And it sends that pulse into an AND gate. Now this is looking for a pulse from the X button, and it's also looking for this. This is a laser detector, and this laser point is pointing straight down to the ground here, and it's looking to see if it's touching anything. If it is, if it's hit something, that goes into the signal manipulator, which creates a smooth signal that goes into this calculator. This calculator looks to see if the number is bigger than 0. If it's bigger than 0, that means it's touching something. It could be a strong touch, or it could be a mild touch, but as long as it's touching something, so it's greater than 0, then it's creating a 1. It's creating a 1 pulse into here. So we're looking to see if there's an X pulse, and there's a continuous message saying that it's coming. I said pulse, I didn't mean pulse. It's a signal that's saying that it's touching the ground. So once you've done both of those, then we've got a couple of wires coming out of here. So if the result is yes, there is, somebody's pressed the X button to jump and we're touching the ground, then we've jumped. And that wire goes into this node, and then this goes into the special effects for rolling the ball. We'll have a look at that in a minute. And it's also going into this movement gadget, which has got the Y pointing straight up to move our ball. And you'll also notice that the forward speed, the height of the jump, is wired into this calculator. This calculator is adding a number to the first number, which is the jump height, and so we're just adding in the velocity of the y-axis. So we've got a movement sensor here, and it's looking at the y which is the up and down, the vertical. So it's looking at the velocity, and this is going into another splitter, which is trying to find the positive velocity. So if you're actually jumping, that's putting a number into here, and we're adding that to the jump height. So those two numbers added together gives us our jump, how high we need to jump. Right. We've got another wire coming from the detect. Detect touching the ground also goes into a signal manipulator here, and this is going into the special effects. That's to say you've landed on the ground. And this one is going into here, so that's the pulse when you hit the ground. And this one is going into this calculator, and this is determining whether or not you're on the ground, and then you times it by the movements, at the velocity of your ball, and that's going into here to see if it's rolling or not. So that's detecting the roll. So the movement sensor says the velocity. If the velocity and you're on the ground, then that means you're rolling. That's what that's doing, and then that goes into the thing. So these are all the special effects. This is basically all the sound effects. So as we saw before, so if you're touching the ground, it's sending a signal, and you sent a pulse, so you've jumped. That goes to this node, and these are the jumping noises. So there's a wobble. As you can see, there's lots of different audios here. That's so it randomizes these. So that's how you make a randomized noise. You just put lots of them in there, and it will play one of those randomly. It's also playing this noise when it jumps, and you can change these to different noises to how you want for your ball. And then this one looks to see if you're touching the ground, and you've just touched the ground, so you've just landed, and then you get this noise. Okay, so that's the landing noise, and again you can change that to whatever you want. This one then, so this one's calculating whether you're rolling or not. This creates a signal manipulator, which creates an output smoothing for the pulse, so that it's going into this rolling sound effect. And there's a rattle and a roll, and there's also an effect field. So if you are moving, then it goes into this signal manipulator. That's just a smoothing effect of the signal, and then that will turn on the effect field. This effect field is an audio effect, which changes the shape of the pitch of the sound and everything. But it's these two that are affected by this effect field because it's in this chip. But that will only happen if there is movement detected, to make sure that these are working. Okay, so this is all the sound effects, and then this is a speaker that's set for the sound effects to come out of the ball, like so. It's auto 3D panning, and these are the radius for the ball, so that you can hear the sound. Okie dokie. So we've gone through all of these and all of these and all of these. This is the controls text displayers, so you can delete that if you don't want that displayed, or you could put that on a turn on and off option. So let me show you how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I've got a controller sensor. Let me just I'm going to put in a I think I'm going to use a selector. There's different ways of doing this. I'm going to use a selector. So there's the controls, and we're going to do it on the touchpad. So I'm going to create a text gadget, that one, and I'm going to put in touchpad, gives me a nice touchpad. I'm going to put that up there, and I don't want any of that. Okay. So we'll say controls. Like that. I don't want it too big. Put it there like that. And we're going to wire that up to the A. And we're going to wire that one up to the B, which is what we've done. And then I've got a controller here, touchpad button. So we've got controls. There's the controls. Press it again, and it's gone. You could have it so that there is a three-way control on this. So if we make it so that there are three, then it will go controls, controls, and then nothing. Controls, to that, and then nothing. Okay. Right, so we've added a little bit of easy functionality. That's a really easy way of doing any invisible control mechanism there. Right, one things we haven't looked at then, health and death effects. We've got a health manager for our ball, and it's set to a maximum of 100 health, and it sets the current health to 100 to start with. And this, when it has no health, it goes into this counter, and this is a 1-0 counter. 1-0 counter, so this is a binary counter switch, and what this does is when there is no health, that goes into a timer here. A 1.5 seconds timer will start off, and then it will respawn. So there's a little delay of 1.5 seconds before the ball will respawn after it dies, and this turns this is a keyframe which will turn off all of the movability, glidability, and it will also make it invisible. The ball while this is going on, while the respawning is going on. Then this is a node that goes into. They like to use nodes. You could go directly. This is not strictly necessary, but it allows you to label up the wire. So it says die, and that goes into the die in the controller sensor. And then we've got death effect. This is the emitter, and this is going to emit, and now we're back to this, boom, this special effect here. This is what it's going to emit, and this is, I'm trying to, it's really difficult to, they're all flashing. Hover over it, you can see, there we go, it's flashing that. That's the special effect that goes off when you die. And there's a lot more gadgetry in here. Hang on, let me just turn it around. Woohoo! This is a little timeline. It shakes it's going to give a camera shake. It also rumbles your controller. It's got a couple of key frames that control the special effect, and there's some sounds of fire exploding and popping noises like that. Okay, so that's what controls all of that. It's a really difficult thing to show you, but that's basically the effect, the popping effect. Let me just turn it off because it is very bright. So there we go, that's the death effect, and that's it. So that goes into there, That number display we don't need anymore. That wasn't part of it where I put that one in. And that's it. I think we've gone through all of the chips. So as you can see, it's really complex, but pretty straightforward when you go through each of the gadgets slowly, and you can see which bit does which. But I can imagine looking at this for the first time, I certainly looked at it and went, "Ah!" But it's not as bad as it looks. The trouble is though, it's not. Although there aren't keyframes, other than this one here for the health, there aren't keyframes and things in this. So you would have thought you would be able to transfer this chip to something else. Well, let's give it a go. So we'll just close it down. So there's a rolling ball logic. I will copy it and take it out. Let's put another ball in play. So we've got, let's put another sphere in. And let's take our rolling ball logic and attach it to our ball. There we go. And let's delete this ball. Let's see if this will work. Immediately, I can tell you nothing is happening. It is not working. I don't know why. You would think everything would be fine, but there's something about the way that they've attached this logic to this ball. Sorry if you can hear my cat. It means that this is now not working just because I've snapped it to it. It doesn't work. So if you want to make your own ball, let's just delete this. If you want to make your own ball, I recommend what you do is you use the ball as is, put your own ball over the top of it. Now let's say you want it the same size as this ball. I think we can get away with making this a little smaller, and we'll just, you want to scope in to the ball itself, put it over the top, and now we have our own ball. There we go. It works perfectly well. It should go up slope. Yeah, there we go. So that was how I recommend you use it if you want to redesign the ball. That's the easiest way. I've done some oddly shaped things that have gone on that ball, and that's worked. Make sure that you've scoped into the right thing, right into the ball, and you should be okay to adapt it and change it. Or of course you could always respray it and things like that. Let me just get the ball out. There we go. But it's not easy, and you might need to change the keyframe so that your red ball in the logic disappears when the black and white ball is supposed to disappear on the death spawn respawn. But other than that, you should be good. So there we go. There's the rolling ball. I hope that just going through that helped you with a little bit of understanding about the movement controllers, about how this little ball works, and it might be useful for how you make your own things. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in your dreams.